Asare sara matino, sare chasara dasino, te saram nadhi gachanti, mitcha sankappa gochara. The structure of this verse is similar to what came before. Here we've opted for blue instead of green, but these are all referring to the same group of people. We'll notice there is only one finite verb here. There's actually only one verb, period, and that is adhigachanti. Now, when it's negated in this case, it becomes nadigachanti, but keep in mind that's just the negating particle na plus adhigachanti, and that forms this long A here. Now, adhigachanti is kind of a good example of how it's good to look up words even if you understand the component parts. So adhi means towards a definite goal, up to, toward, to. And of course, gachati means to go. So we might take this as meaning to go to get to. But if we look up the actual adhigachati, if we look up the word, it really means to come into possession of, to acquire, to attain. Now, we might get that from the component parts, but I think it's just a good practice to look up the verbs, because just like with the English word understand, taking it literally won't give us the actual meaning of the word. It doesn't actually mean to stand under something. Now, this verb is third person plural, present active, so it already means they do not come into possession of, they do not acquire. But we have a very explicit te at the beginning of this line. It could be, to make this very explicit, it could be metrical. So this is our demonstrative pronoun. It's nominative plural, masculine nominative plural. So they do not come into possession of sarang, and that is the essential. Now, the rest of the verse is just basically explaining why these people do not come into possession of the essential. So we could go back here to the beginning. We see sara matino. Now, matino is the nominative plural of mati. Mati meaning mind, opinion, thought, thinking of. This is from a root man, cognate with Latin mens. And when you look at the Latin, it's not real clear, actually, but the real stem of that has a T in there. So in English, we end up with words like mentality. Maybe we would take this thinking of sadam. Now, since this is put together in a tapurisa, it really would be sarang, just like in the second line. That would be kind of an object. But so thinking of the essential, and then at the beginning here, asare. This is just sarang negated, the opposite of sarang, and it's in the locative. So thinking of the essential in the not essential, in the unessential. And then in the next bit here, let's look at cha sara dasino. This cha sara part really is cha and asara dasino. And then we go to dasino, and we've talked about dasity before, that we don't see the present form of that verb, but it has to do with seeing, perceiving, realizing the unessential, that would be this whole thing here, in the essential. Sare is now our locative. And then there's this last little bit, just pretty long compound, and it's an interesting one. Mitcha sankappa gochara. So this at the end is marking it as a nominative plural. And I should have said before, dasino is the nominative plural of dasin. So gochara has the meaning of, well, it is a compound in itself. It's go and chara. Go is a cow. Chara means to walk, to go about, to live. So literally, this is like where cows go about, or a pasture. And then by extension, it has the meaning of feeding in or on, living in, dealing with. Now, the first part of this, then, miccha sankappa, is really the opposite of what we find as the second factor of the Eightfold Path, the samma sankappa, which is, let's actually just focus on sankappa, which is a thought, intention, a purpose, plan, or resolve. Miccha is an adverb meaning wrong, wrongly, false. This whole compound is describing those people who feed upon wrong intention, wrong resolve, go about with the wrong resolve. So putting the whole thing together, we might translate it just in order, or roughly in order, thinking of the essential in the unessential, and perceiving the unessential in the essential. Those people do not acquire the essential, living life with wrong thinking, or they go about living their life with wrong resolve, i.e., not focused upon the essential. Now, I don't think it's too much of a stretch, but I want to add here that this makes me think a little bit of a mantra that we find, or an opening invocation that we find at the beginning of certain Upanishads. I've heard Pravrajika Divyananda Prana use it as the opening of the Isha Upanishad. And I'll read the Sanskrit, which Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma mritam gamaya. From the unreal lead me to the real, or from falsehood lead me to truth. It seems like it could just as easily say, from the unessential lead me to the essential. The second line of this is, from darkness lead me to light, and from death lead me to immortality. This amurtang is going to come up in the second chapter of the Dhammapada. So stay tuned for that when it happens.